Mike Deaton, thank you so much for coming on the Edison podcast. I appreciate you being here today.
You bet, Ed. I'm looking forward to it, man. Let's get going.
Yeah, we've been talking for 15 minutes. We thought might as well hit record.
Yeah.
So I know you're into flipping dirt. Have you always been in the residential, this type of a market? I guess I would say real estate market. Have you always been here in this?
Yeah, it's definitely real estate. No, I spent 25 years in corporate America. I was a, W-2 employee. I worked in big tech companies, mostly in operations, supply chain. So, I worked for Motorola, Nokia, Microsoft, managing any of their hardware products. And in 2016, after giving out dozens of layoffs, I found myself on the other end of the other side of the table getting one. So,
I was going to ask if you left because of a layoff, because that's usually what happens.
Yeah, it was definitely
corporate America. And then right now with what's happening this year,
oh my gosh,
AI, and people don't understand. We're going to lose. It's an industrial revolution is what's happening. It's AI and revolution. So
totally. I mean, you hear all kinds of thoughts about it, but if you really think about it, like the people that own companies or that run companies, their incentive base is totally to automate as much as possible. And so, I mean, it's coming. It's just a question of, how big and how soon.
Well, and I think there's a huge trust thing that's changing too. I'm sorry to cut you off there for a second.
No.
I didn't mean to. But there is a trust factor that's coming out of this whole thing for what, things when you do large purchases, like what I do in the mortgage industry, and you do, but get into what you do. Those type of things are more of a trust. They're going to want to see you, touch you, those kind of things. The smaller stuff that doesn't matter. I mean, I don't want a phone call from AI. I don't care who you are. I get, my wife gave me a thing for a massage the other day. So I call up. I could have swore the lady was AI. It was actually the owner, but just the way she spoke was so much like, I'm like, she paused and I could just, I'm like, my wife's like, no, it's her. It's the lady. I'm like, I don't believe you. That's AI.
Yeah.
And I mean, because people, for me, I want to talk to you. I want to know that it's you, not somebody else. Occasionally I can deal with a couple things, but most of the time I want to talk to you.
Yeah, I would say real estate is very much that way, whether it's the financing aspect of it or the deal aspect of it. As you said, it's dealing with big ticket items and people. I'm always surprised in our business, which I'll kind of get into it here in a second, but like there is a segment of people that is totally comfortable with digital. They'll text a purchase and just send you information. And then conversely, there's the other side where there's no amount of trust that you can instill in them. Even you go through all these hoops of, no, I'm a real person. We're going to deal with a real title company. We're going to, they're just not going to have it. But I mean, definitely AI is accelerating the layoff aspect of things. My wife and I both got let go from different companies within days of each other in the summer of 2016. And we went through this process, me specifically, of re-engaging with other big tech companies, Apple, Tesla, Amazon. I was talking to people, having interviews, going on follow-up interviews, and I was really just nauseous and sick about the whole process. I was just apprehensive about, what kind of company culture am I going to step into? I was already traveling half of a month, visiting my team in different countries, and was I going to have to do that again? Were we going to have to relocate? All those are West Coast companies. And that was my problem with Microsoft, is like I limited myself in upward mobility because I didn't want to move to Washington and be at headquarters. And so all of those factors really just gave us reason to take pause and slow down the process. And we fortunately were in a good situation that we could do that. We could take the time to reflect, and we kind of looked forward to what do we want out of life. And it was spending time together. It was being mobile, being able to travel. We love, getting out. My wife's from Europe. And so we like to go visit her family for 6 weeks at a time. And so all of those factors were not pushing toward get another W-2 job and get in corporate America. And so we decided to pivot. We did a little bit of research. Land was already on my radar as something I had heard on a podcast like this, right? Somebody was talking about their experience, the great returns they were making, just simply flipping a parcel, buying it under market value and reselling it. And so it was already there. And we just decided in that moment to go in. And we said, life kind of opened up for us at the moment as well. I have 2 adult daughters. They were going to college at the time. That was all, the funds were set aside and that was ready. And so my safety, my need for safety opened up a little bit because it was just my wife and I at the time. She has a good risk tolerance. She came from communist Romania. She grew up under a dictator.
Married a nurse. She has no risk tolerance at all.
Yeah, I am more that way. Like I was always have a salary, have the benefits.
Yeah, I'm like your wife. I'm used to risk. Yeah, if you don't risk, what are you willing to give up to get? That's the question.
That's been my journey since 2016, because for me, that was a re-engineering of my psyche the whole way. It was being able to take risks, learning to deal with failure. I mean, in the corporate world, and I'm a first child, same kind of thing. It was like failure was this dirty word. And now I see it as steps along the path to journey, right? You're testing, you're experimenting, you're getting feedback, you're having to go. And so that's been the bulk of my journey over the last 10 years is trying to re-engineer my belief system, even, if you will. So it's, but that was our start into real estate. And that's where we have parked for the last 10 years. And we've done a few other things, but land has been our, mainstay.
Mike, the difference is a corporation failure means firing.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I'm from the medical field in the Navy. Somebody dies, that's a failure, and that's not something you want. But when I got out, I changed all that. And how now, I've owned my own business, multiple different ones, many times. And being in the mortgage industry for as long as I have, you see many years of bad times that really destroy things. Well, the question is, what are you, and this is what happened this last time. I was really upset for about a year about what happened because I see, and this is not political, but once they shut that pipeline down, I knew inflation was coming, and I knew nobody understood the fact that inflation was coming, because unless you were 55 and older, or
with the pandemic, you mean when the world shut down?
No, I was talking when Biden shut the pipeline down because the oil pipeline back when he first came in.
Gotcha.
Pipeline. And they were building, because I seen what that happened before during the 2008 time where they shut that pipeline down when Obama did that one, how it destroyed the town around it. Well, I knew that with what we were trying to do in our world with what they were doing, I just had a feeling that we were going to cause inflation. And then the whole thing was, what more can I cut down? And this is not political. This is just what happened. I knew inflation was coming. But you talk to somebody about inflation, they're like, what's inflation? It's no big deal. Oh, really? You don't know about gas shortages of the 70s, and here's your license plate, and here's my license plate, and we'll switch every day so we can go get gas. That's what they did back then. I only remember as a kid hearing about this stuff. Yeah.
Same.
But I knew about inflation. I understood what it was because I have a master's degree. I understood that stuff. But the average person, it's just like now telling somebody about socialism and communism. That's just a word. I don't understand.
Yeah. Right.
But I guarantee your wife does.
She grew up in it.
Exactly.
She understands it. And she celebrates, what we have here today. And so her mindset and my mindset, they really complement and help one another. And we've been business partners as well as partners for the last 10 years. And it's really been a nice complementary relationship in that way, because she can encourage me to take a little more risk. And at the same time, I can be a little more calculated in my risk taking.
So for most people don't understand, I understand this because I interviewed another person on my Real Estate Jerky radio show a couple of years ago about that's what they would do. They'd find lots and flip them and that kind of stuff. And they were making money at it. Nice. How do you do it? Because everybody does it differently. So
sure. Yeah. So we keep it really simple. I mean, at the highest level, we're buying properties under market value and we're reselling them at or close to market value. We either sell those cash, one-time deal, or we'll owner finance. If you wanted to buy a property from us, we'll carry the note for 4, 5, 6 years. And that sets up more passive income, which satisfies my need for a little more certainty in life. But the way we go about doing it is essentially we'll find a market that looks good for us. And there's certain dynamics. I mean, you want a decent amount of land. You want property owners that you can reach out to. It needs to be affordable for whatever you can, if you have means, if you have your own capital, or if you have access to capital versus if you're kind of starting out really lean. So we find a market that fits our buy box. and we make direct offers. And so you can do that in different ways. We send mailers a lot of times. You can text, call people, and we make them an offer. We'll say, if your land's worth $50,000, we might come and say, hey, we'd love to make you an offer of 20 or 25,000. And, most people are insulted by it, but 1 or 2% of people are open to it for various reasons. They are tired of paying taxes, or they thought they were going to build on it and the dream has passed by, or a spouse passes away. There's a lot of different motivators that people want just to cash out of their property. They don't want to involve a realtor. They want to do things clean. Sometimes we'll pay back taxes if people have gotten behind on a tax bill or things like that. But we're only buying properties that we can get for a significant amount below market value, and then we can just turn around and resell it. There are other ways, obviously, as you mentioned, to go about doing it. You can add value. You can rezone or entitle or subdivide or build. There's all different ways to do it. They just add complexity. They add time. They add risk to the process. And so, we've been able to just surpass our old salary being entrepreneurs and flipping land in this way. And we've just scaled it up from year one ever since we started. But at its essence, that's kind of the way the model works.
Do you pick a certain states? How do you find, I know most of the people I've talked to, they send out mailers and stuff, kind of like you were talking about, to talk to them. And again, like he said the exact things. Yeah, people are going to get offended, but that's okay. That's, that's what
if you're not offending somebody, you're not doing a good job, because
so when you said that, that's why I chuckled, because I was like, it sounds just like the guy, because that's what it is. It's about it's about these people who, flipping homes or whatever. They come in, they say, I'll buy your house sight unseen, but the offer they're not going to give you is not going to be what it's worth,
right? Because
they're going to want to do certain things to it, or just do like you said. Now, with most land, is there a certain size land you guys focus on, or is it just depends on because here's the thing. Sometimes people buy land and they're stuck with it. Nobody else wants it.
Yeah.
And like a prime example, I have 32 acres up in Twain Harte. I could sell it for what I bought it for or more. We did more stuff to it, but I'm at that point where maybe I should split it into, because it's 32 acres. I can split it into 6 5-acre parcels, and I'd probably make the same amount on every parcel that I could make on the whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm at the point where, do I want to do that? Do I want to go through the headache, or do I just want to sell it to somebody else, let them do it? So, and that's where like you said, you guys would come in, but you don't want to get it for under market, and I don't want to sell it for under market. So,
right. Yeah. And so that's where you have to decide, I'm going to list it with a realtor, or I'm just going to sell it on my own, but at your own level. Yeah. As far as picking a market, it ties into strategy, and we work with a lot of clients that we help get started in land. And the first thing we do is we talk strategy. And so we'll ask, what is your goal with this business? Do you want $1,000 a month, just a little extra money? Or do you want a 6-figure a year business that you can replace your job and pivot out of at some level? Part of that factor is, like I mentioned, what kind of capital do you have access to? Can you chase 6-figure deals, or are you going to be looking at $1,000 properties out, somewhere in the desert? And how much time do you want to put into the business? And those variables largely govern the parameters that you want to go look at. Then you can start to decide, okay, I'm looking at affordable acreage in West Texas, or I could go to urban and look at infill subdivision lots that are going to be, a different price point. And so all of those factors kind of go into some things. Some people might be familiar with real estate. Like that in land, there are, there's landlord-friendly states across the nation where people do rental properties.
I'm not in one.
You're not. You're definitely not. But
that's why everybody I know will not buy here to do any of that kind of stuff. Only the people who live here will buy here and do stuff.
It's definitely a little bit of a barrier for sure. Yeah. But land is similar. There are things that make land a little more, a little easier to work with, even at the county level, when you talk about county tools and resources and things like that. But we're essentially looking for 1,000+ vacant land parcels in an area. So there's a good pool of owners that we can reach out to begin with. Size doesn't matter so much. It really comes down to the total budget. When we go look, let's say you can afford to buy $25,000 properties. Well, we're going to look at what retails for $50,000 or $60,000 because we're making that low offer. And so that will start to shrink the different markets that we want to go look at. And as far as the type of property, the size of property, that's really just a factor of the others that we look at because, it depends. If you're looking in West Texas, for instance, you might be able to buy acreage for $100 an acre, and you could buy hundreds of acres. Or if you're in Orange County or something, you're not going to touch acreage for under 5 figures an acre. So
that's if you can even find an acre.
Yeah. And so all those factors go in and they help us. And then our experience over 10 years, we kind of understand which markets are a little healthier than others. There's a supply demand dynamic that we want to see. We want to see that properties are actually selling in a market over the last 6 or 12 months because, regardless, you get a good deal. If nobody's buying property in your area, you're just going to be stuck with it.
And how is land going right now? Because I just looked at numbers today that like the state of California, we're about almost a third down on listings on just in general. And like Texas is up by almost 50% on listings. They have more listings than they normally have in 2019. And certain states are like that. Is that the same thing with land, or is land a totally different thing?
No, it's very similar. It doesn't mirror the residential home, but it's very similar in that it's a market or even a sub-market level. You have to get in and understand the dynamics of submarkets. I would say last year, 2025, on the whole, was softer. We felt land sales slow down, and it was harder to move properties. It was a great market to buy in, and we were.
I was going to say that's crazy to purchase them. And that's like my property. I'm waiting for the market to take off. Which,
if you can wait, it's perfect. Yeah,
in another year, it'll be through the roof with the regular stuff, and then someone's going to go, "I want to build a house on that one," like we did. And then and I have a neighbor who wants to buy it from me, but I haven't told him what I want for it. So
yeah.
I mean, because I'll probably just tell him I'm going to sell it to a guy who's going to cut it up into 6, parcels.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he's and he's going to go, "Oh, how much do you want for it?"
I have a guy who wants to buy it who wants to put an RV park on it, or he wants to do.
Well, the problem is the way it's set up. It's like there's not a road, it's an easement that was supposed to be given to the county, and they said we don't want that part of it, so I forget what it was called. And so it's not a road, but the guy in front of me, he made it into a road for him, but it was an easement for him. After that, he got an easement against it, but nobody else is supposed to use it. But I get tired of people ripping down my gates, so I'm just like, I'm done. But I have a 22 acre where that road is down below it, and I have 11 acres above it that's up on a hill that oversees the beautiful view. And so I was originally thinking just split the two. Well, and then I'm like, well, let me see what else I can do. But the problem up there is it's really difficult. The Tuolumne County is really difficult to split things with the county. They're just a pain in the butt. They're just good old boys who don't want to do anything.
Yeah, these are the dynamics that we get into when we start looking at markets and submarkets. Is there's a county friendliness aspect of things in terms of how easy it is to do different things, even down to the transaction level. Like some counties are nightmares to transfer it to record a deed or anything like that. So
now do you buy and hold yourself? Is that what you plan? Or just because, wow, this is a good piece of acre to keep, I'm going to keep this property?
We don't. We have, throughout the 10 years, we have come across a few parcels that we have wanted to keep. We never have, though. Like, especially early in our career, we just needed the funds to grow. We had a few parcels where we took a decision and we said, let's just list this at double the market value or some crazy high price. And if it sells, great, we'll, pocket the money. And they've always sold. So, but I do keep my eye out. I would love some acreage to have. And we live in a really, beautiful place. There's some larger 100 and 1,000 acre parcels around us, and it keeps things really wide open. But, yeah, it's a dream. It's one of those dreams that you're like, if I actually ever get this, am I going to really like it? Like the whole maintenance and caring for things like that, taxes.
Right. Well, my thing, and the 32 acres was my wife's idea. She's from Hawaii. So it was her whole thing to have all this acreage. And all
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking is, I grew up on my grandfather's dairy. I'd work out there on weekends and during the summer and all that. And all I'm thinking is work. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's all I was
totally.
thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, as we get older, I do not want to do that. And finally, she's like, I don't want to move there now, blah, 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 because of the whole,
Yeah.
because of the being sued by the neighbor and all that. This is just normal stuff. What she doesn't understand, just in the city, you're close to people and a lot of jerks. Well, out in acreage, you have the same amount of people. They're just a little bit further away from you.
Yeah.
They're still your neighbor. They're just a little bit further away. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of them,
there's still jerks out there. Yeah.
yeah, well, that's a nice way of putting it. And just like this one up there, it's like, I offered them access through my property when I first started, but they wanted to be jerks about it. So that's why we ended up in court. And so, yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, not really, but they got access. But the kid who really needed it was their daughter, and she she has the land below me. They should have just came to me and said, "Hey, we want to have an easement for our daughter," and I was okay with that. I didn't think they needed it for any reason. So, but those are the little things that you do when you deal with real estate. What you come across, and you have to understand, you'll get sued eventually for some reason, even though you didn't do anything wrong. They'll just sue because that's what they can do.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, it happens in business in general.
Right.
It's just a cost of that side of the business, and that's another difference between working for someone or being an entrepreneur. Is you take a lot of these risks on for yourself. But yeah, we don't buy and hold too much land. We do other like short-term rentals or multifamily deals. That's where we do a little bit more of our long-term wealth plays is
so you do have other real estate. You just the land side. You don't hold on to that kind of stuff.
We don't. Yeah.
Because I forget who it was. He would say, go buy land where the city is growing to, and then wait. And then you hold it and hold it and hold it and wait until the city catches up. I'm like, that's a long time to wait.
It is. And honestly, from what I've seen in the land business, especially, the people that do that they have more information than you do, right? So you're talking about the Jerry Joneses. I come from Dallas Fort Worth, so the Ross Perot's, people that have just crazy money, and they have ties to the city planning and zoning commissions or whatever. Well, they know where the growth is going, and they're able to get land far enough out, but in that path of growth that they're going to sit on it, and their grandkids will reap the benefits from it or something. You and I, we generally aren't going to be waiting that long. We have found pockets of areas, like we deal in a county here in Colorado. It's not too far from Denver, where there's a reservoir build project, and the city, it's not Denver, but it's one of the suburbs, is buying land in this zone. Well, we know where that is now. We talked to the people in the city planning department. And so if we get owners in that area that are willing to sell their properties, we can almost pay them market value, and then the city's paying double in that and stuff. So there are ways to work that arbitrage, and it's a good setup. It's a little challenging sometimes because, like I said, the people in the know, the politicians, I mean, they're the ones who are becoming millionaires from those type of deals.
Well, they're becoming millionaires for other reasons, but let's just move on from that.
Yeah, that's a different.
I do another podcast called Helping the Brave, and I was interviewing a guy yesterday. It was all about how the reason we were in the war for as long as we're in it is because, one, it was all about the officers wanting to get he came in to facilitate us leaving. That was his job. That's what he's done before. And the guy that was his counterpart in charge, he's like, they haven't even agreed on what they're going to do. He goes, well, I have an idea. And the guy's like, no, you don't, because I need to come back here for my second star. It was all about rank. That's why that war was extended, and why a loss didn't matter. It was all about the officers making their rank during wartime, because it meant something afterwards. When they went to work for one of these big companies, or whatever, they were a second two-star general now because of this. And I'm like, wow. So that is why the war lasted forever. He goes, yes, that's exactly why it did, and why
Yeah, one of many reasons.
But I'm just saying, but that
capitalism is another one, because there's a whole.
That was the. But again, each person has their own agenda. Instead of finishing the war and getting out of there, and
it's the greater good. Yeah,
right. It's doing like we did in World War II and Korea, where we helped the people afterwards to do better. We just, we didn't do that after that. That was the whole purpose of it. And again, we need to do what's best for everyone also, not just
You would like
yourself.
to think so. Yeah.
I mean, I do it for my clients. If I'd rather get hurt than all my clients are always whole, no matter what, if something happens. So,
Yeah, we do that in our business and we always have. And so, like I said, we do a lot of owner financing and people run into hard times. And the easy thing would be for us would be just to terminate the agreement. But as much as we can, we try to work with people. We rebalance a loan. We'll pause payments for a few months. We'll move things to the back end I mean, we go through as much reasonable help as we can give them, as long as somebody responds. There's cases where people just ghost us and they're gone, and then it's like, okay, well, I can't do anything. But yeah, I mean, I'm not in this business to be a slumlord or just capitalize on other people's misfortune. But
so a lot of these lots that you finance, are they just in the middle of nowhere? Because here's the thing: who's buying it? Are they buying it to build on eventually? Is that what the plan is? Or because there's a lot of people have land that they're not doing anything to.
Yeah, it's a mix. And so there are people that want to either build or put something on it, like a mobile home or an RV that they can use as a second property to get away from the city. Mm-hmm. We've had people build cabins on properties they bought from us. We do a lot of land here in Colorado. And so, it's 5 acres, maybe in the foothills of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains or somewhere. And there are a lot of those types, but that's just the type of land that we typically gravitate towards. There's pockets of area where there's, millions of acres that have been parceled up into 5 and 10 acre parcels. And those are the types of buyers that like those. But then there are people that, yes, they buy it and they are doing nothing with it other than making a payment on a piece of land that they owned. We thought when the pandemic hit, we were a little nervous because we had a lot of owner finance properties and we thought people would be giving up these extra payment things, but it went totally the opposite direction. People wanted to own something. They wanted a piece of land and they wanted to be able to get out. And then people got money, so they were able to pay on their loans.
Well, they were getting a ton of money for doing nothing. I mean, there was so much money during that period of time. I mean, the pandemic was great for me in the mortgage industry, but it put everybody in such a low rate that I was like, okay, we're going to take the existing home sales.
From one and done.
Well, the existing home sales from 85%, and I said down to 40 to 45, and I was wrong. It went down to 35 and still there. And that's the problem is the fact that, the low interest rates are, what people used to call golden handcuffs, but I call them an abusive relationship. I've had people finally go, I have to buy something. We have the 3rd kid now. We only have 2 bedrooms and they're piling up in each. I can't do this anymore. And they finally do it. And then eventually rates will get lower. Because prior to the pandemic, the lowest rate I did was 3.25. It's been there before. It just was never, I did 2% and stuff like that, but I'd never seen before. But when I was in a documentary in 21, right, it was before the pandemic, as everything was doing really well, and they were thinking that we're going to have a bubble. I said, we're not going to have a bubble at all. There's just no way we're going to have a bubble. And we still haven't had a bubble. Yes, there's certain places where people move to, Texas, Florida, for other reasons, had nothing to do with what we were going through. If you look nationwide, we're still appreciating, except for certain pockets where too many people move to, and it's a 3-year cycle where they start leaving. And then Florida's back up again because of New York. I mean, New York has got so much listings. It's up to almost 68% on listings right now than they had in 2019 because of the change in the government and other stuff. So you're still going to see that.
Yeah. Demographics is a big, it's fairly cyclical, but,
yes. Well, I just know for us, like the Bay Area that I'm close to, people move from the Bay Area out to where, there's a couple, commute to work. It usually lasts about 3 years. And then they move back to the city because the commute is just too much for them. And I see that. And then when I saw everybody moving from there during the pandemic to get away from everybody, I'm like, okay, they're going to move out of these places. And then about 3 years from now, they're going to be moving back because it's just because they all have to go back to work, which.
Right. Yeah. It's back to office. Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of them never thought they would have to. I'm like, are you crazy? I mean, I never wanted to. All my people went to home. Actually, I worked at home and all my people worked at the office. Then I sent all my people home and I went to work at the office because my wife came home from Kaiser to work. And I'm like, we can't work in the
I
same
need
house.
my own space. Yeah.
I'm loud. And she'll come in here, close this door because of the studio and because I'm loud. I'm like, well, you weren't supposed to be home anyway. You're supposed to be at work.
It's not the way we designed it. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So what's next in dirt? For dirt, just the same thing. It's just going to continue doing the same way it's been doing, where people buy it and sell it and buy it and sell it, or is there something else coming up that is a unique situation?
Well, that business model, I don't think will ever go away. There's just so much land out there, and there are people, just to your point, it's cyclical. People they buy land and then they decide that they're not going to use it for what they thought they were going to use it. So this business model will continue. There are demographic shifts, as you mentioned, that lend themselves to more advanced strategies, right? Buying and developing build-to-rent communities is a large thrust right now. Mobile homes and RV parks, there's just, the urban areas don't want them. And so you see these going out into more of the outlying areas. And so there's more of the value add strategies are the things that continue. They've always been there and they will be. It's just a matter of finding where those opportunities are. So doing a little bit of research. Tech is also coming into the land space. Since we started 10 years ago, there are actual systems coming. There's payment systems, CRM systems, research, outreach, all of that's coming. AI is further amplifying each one of those to make them more accessible.
Because they all need big data centers, huge in the middle of nowhere.
That is a whole beast in and of itself. The whole data
It's
center.
a totally different world. I mean, it's just because with AI coming and what's happening, you're going to see it all over the place, and they want it further out because it's cheaper land, cheaper to build it way further out. It's just a matter of getting the utilities there.
Yeah, and utilities has been another opportunistic area for larger land deals in terms of solar farms and wind farms and leasing or buying those type of things. But again, that takes things to another level of depth of research and, doing a lot of planning and information gathering before you're able to lock in on finding those great deals. They're the same with data centers or even, these big companies that build headquarters places and pay crazy amounts for land in those areas. But
even cell towers. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, people don't understand that because I know there was one building down in Southern California. It was on top of it, and that was all part of when they sold it. Is like the profit from that because it was going on forever. That that was built into the sale, and it's like wow, just things that
those in and of themselves are huge cash flow generators.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. All right, Mike. Thanks for being on the show today. What should I have asked you that I didn't ask you?
Well, we can talk land. I mean, we touched on this in terms of the layoffs. For me, I got caught by surprise a little bit. I didn't have a side income or any type of income. And I think people should really be preparing for that, regardless of what it is. You should never rely on, an employer for your sole source of income. And so, getting started in land is a great low risk way to get an extra source of income going, but there's a lot of other ways, I would say, just for people not to get caught off guard. There's enough bells and whistles going off these days.
So I've heard this a couple of times. So do you train people? Is that what you do too? You help people?
We have a coaching side of our business. Yeah. For the last 2 or 3 years, we coach a handful of clients and help them start up a business just using the models that we do and all the things that we talked about, from strategy to market selection to buying and selling the property. It's
how do people find you, Mike?
Yeah, we have a website, flippingdirt.us. And if you go to flippingdirt.us/freedom, there's contact information, some free materials if people want to get a little more information on what land is all about and maybe even how to get started.
All right. Anything else you want to add today before we go?
No, this is good, man. It's a good conversation, Ed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll have to reach out to you, have you on the radio show, because I think people would want to know more about it. Because it's land is unique because I'm going to put it this way: it's like condos; they don't go up in value a lot. unless something comes in that makes it to where it's worth more, meaning like something's getting closer. Because you could have a piece of property spend, pay $100,000 for it and then put $50,000 of improvements, and you still don't get the $50,000 of improvement that you spent. You just get your $100,000 back. And so you have to be careful what you're doing to it. It's just like a house. When you remodel a kitchen or bathroom, just because you remodel it doesn't mean that your house is worth more now. It's not
right.
Love it or hate it, love it or list it. It doesn't work that way. The only reason that works that way is because there is no actual cost for labor built in. Those are all what they're doing to the place is costs that they're adding to it. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. 100% for sure.
Where if you,
go
ahead.
Land, I would say for sure is, at least the way we do it, especially is about buying it right and making sure you're getting into at the right price point, because it is more insulated than some other forms of real estate where you just don't see the highs and the lows, similar to commercial real estate or even residential.
Which is good and bad at the same time. Because you don't have to worry about losing your butt buying something if you bought it the wrong time. But long term, everything goes up. But the question is,
for sure, if you can hold long enough, yes, definitely.
Yeah. All right, Mike, thanks for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Likewise, Ed. See you, man.